What's good, people? Today I'm going to be teaching you how you can sample records, like, 90s hip hop producers, even using a computer. I'm using a Mac, so this is pretty much how to do it. It's how the old school people did it. So, yeah. You're going to need a turntable and a method of connecting that turntable to a PC. Since my turntable has USB, I can do that natively. I don't need any sort of, like, audio interface, but you might need one for your turntable. It really depends. But yeah, so that's pretty much all you really need is a Mac or a PC or in a turntable. I'm using a Mac. This is how I do it with a Mac. But you can also download the version for PC too if you want to. Okay, so the program I'm using today is called Koala Sample. And the first thing you're going to need to do to use Koala Sample with a vinyl is go into your audio settings and change your input to whatever your audio interface or turntable is. For me, it's USB audio codec, so I'm going to click on that. I'll click OK. So now you can get sampling. I prefer to turn on the monitor. You kind of have to do that in order to hear your records. So the first thing you're going to need to really sample anything is a good record. So I'm going to use this John Clemmer record. I paid like 95 cents for it. I mean, it's a pretty cheap record, but it's some jazz, so you know it's going to be good. So I'll go ahead and find a sample here. On it, so I'm going to lay that on the turntable. I have a DJ needle here that I use. But, I'm pretty sure you can use just any needle you want. But DJ needles are preferred because better quality. So I'm going to go ahead and find a sample. I think I would flip it over. I don't think there's any good samples on that side, but... So that's real nice. So I have that sample figured out. Okay, so now that we got our sample in the software itself, it's time to, create a loop or chop it up. Do whatever you want to the sample, So this is the main sample I'm going to be using. So I'm going to go ahead and start it like right here, I think. Koala has a really cool feature where you can you set your BPM, right? I'm gonna set it to 94. And you can click on stretch, right? And you can use time stretch. But what I like to do is click repitch. So that will pitch your sample and stretch it. Well, it'll pitch it, not really stretch it, but it'll pitch it so it'll be at the speed of your BPM. So you can listen to that now. Move it slightly. Alright, I can turn loop off now. You don't really want loop when you're sequencing. But yeah, that's how you do that. Okay, so now we're back at the turntable again. And, you need to find a record for drums. You can't just have the sample. I mean, you could have the sample just looping with nothing on it, but that would just be kind of boring, So here's how, I'm going to go ahead and find a nice drum sample here that I can, put on the platter. So I'm going to do, I got a nice 45 here. This is James Brown, Say It Loud, I'm Black and I'm Proud on a 45. So I'm going to take this, need a 45 adapter, obviously, to play 45s, but, you can get your drums from wherever. Just look through some records, just look at all the records that you have. See if you can find any parts with just drums, just drum breaks. So I'm gonna use this record for some of the drums. I'm gonna layer some other loops on there too. This is the first loop I'm gonna use, so I'm gonna place the needle on my thing.
Put your bad self. Say it loud.
There we go. We got our drums. And I'm gonna go ahead and get some drums from some other records too while I'm at it. So I can, layer. I'm gonna use the kick and the snare from here. I'm gonna layer it on top, but you need some other drums, So now you're gonna need another drum loop. So I'm looking through my records and I'm gonna use this one right here. This is Little Feat, Dixie Chicken. This record has a nice drum break on it on the song Fool Yourself. This was sampled by a lot of artists, most notably by Q-Tip, for Bonita Applebum by A Tribe Called Quest. But I'm gonna use this record because I like the drum loop. Obviously I gotta take off this thing here. Yeah, so let's put this on here. We got this record, so I'm gonna sample from Fool Yourself. Get that sample in there. We got a nice drum loop. Alright, so I'm gonna do one more drum loop. Okay, so the next drum loop I'm gonna use is from this Iron Butterfly record. It's heavy. The break is Get Out My Life Woman, it was covered by a lot of artists, but so a lot of people have sampled covers of this. Some people have sampled this version, but that's where I'm gonna get the sample from. So I'm just gonna get that. Start recording here. So there we go. So now we got our loops. Okay, so now I'm gonna chop up my drums, get them sounding real nice. So first of all, I'm gonna turn down my drums because they're kind of loud. They're clipping,
Put your bands. Put your bands. Put your bands. Put your bands.
So I got a nice little loop going here.
Bands. Put your bands.
I'm just gonna get it less looped up. You really don't have to. If you're just layering the kick and the snare, but that's when I'm just gonna use the kick and the snare. I think I like the lower tones of the snare and kick on here anyways, but I'm just layering the kick and the snare on here. Look at that snare right here. I'm gonna get that snare like that right here. Add it right here. So that's that snare, and now we're gonna use the kick from here too. Well, I forgot to. So I got the snare right here. I'm gonna get the kick. Alright, there we go. So we got the kick and the snare nice and chopped up. Now it's time to layer my other drum loops. So here we go. That's Fool Yourself by Little Feat. Pitch that. See which ear sounds cleaner. I think my right ear sounds a little clear. I think my right ear sounds a little bit cleaner, so I'm just gonna make that mono just with the right ear. So I'm gonna do that. So there we go. Bounce that. So we have our break here. Now it's time for our second break that I'm gonna be sampling here. Very nice and dusty break. Very nice. I'm gonna bounce that here. So let's try to see what they sound layered together. Sounds pretty nice. And we got a kick and a snare that I can layer on top here too. What I like to do with my drums, you don't have to do this, but it makes them sound a lot cleaner, is, change the release. So I make the kick, instead of it sounding like this, all rung out, I can make the release, I'll move the release down, it just, like, makes it cleaner, The snare, the same thing. It's pretty nice, so I'm gonna keep that. I might turn the release down on the kick a little bit, so. Alright, so there we go. So let's layer everything. Let's start with the sequencing. So I'm gonna layer both these drum breaks here. I'm gonna try to see what it sounds like. I'm not gonna record yet. I'm gonna see what it sounds like with these layered. So. I like how that sounds. So I'm gonna, kind of turn up the swing a little bit, and let's do it. Let's sequence all this. So yeah. I'm also gonna layer a hi-hat on top of all this. And I'll layer it from this drum break here. So it sounds a little bit cleaner with the hi-hat. So I have this hi-hat here, just kind of isolated, and I turn on the release too. I'm gonna filter out the high end, filter out all the low ends and make only the high end here, my EQ. Maybe turn it up a little bit more. I'll turn it a little bit more low end. Turn up the snare a little bit. So I'll turn up the snare a little bit, so yeah, you can hear that. Let's try to layer let's layer the main sample on top. Let's hear that sound. So I'm gonna double up the drum sequence that I have here, because this is a 2-bar loop. No, it's a 4-bar loop. So I'm gonna double it up again, make it 4 bars. So let's layer the main sample loop on top. Very dusty. That's what I like about vinyl. Alright, next step. I'm going to change the EQ of this main sample here. So I can kind of get the Rhodes to pop, the electric piano. I'm going to try to get it to pop a little bit more. So. Alright, so that sounds pretty good on its own, but what I'm going to do now is, because I still got this snare right here, what I can do to it, make the release still a little bit less. What I like to do with my snares, to make them pop just a little bit more, make them go to bus A, on your sampler. You can use any bus on a qual sample, but I'm just going to use this one. Go to my mixer here, and on bus A, I like to add a nice reverb effect on here. So I'm going to add reverb. Make it a little bit more dry. Turn up the tone. That's how I like my my snare to be. Sometimes I like to do the same with my hi-hat, so I'm going to do that too. Why not? Add that to bus A. Getting all your samples and everything just mixed really nice will just, make your sound better, for your samples. For the kick, I'm gonna decrease some of the high end and increase the low end on the kick. Now, one last thing you need to do is make the part where the verse comes in, and that's pretty easy to do. All you really have to do is take your main sample here, and you need to take your main sample, move it to a different pad. So I'm going to move it to this pad right here. So this pad right here has my main sample. So what I'm going to do now is bounce this. I'm going to, change the high end. Change that to kind of filter out the horn. I'm going to do that again so I can filter out the sax just a little bit more. So we got that right here. So I'm going to, So I'm going to remove the A1 here, which is the pad with, the sample here. The sample without the filter. And we're going to add the filtered sample in its place. Another thing that I like to do is kind of add just a little bit of sequence. I like to add a sequence that has just the main melody sample, no drums. That's basically the finished beat for now, So yeah, we can go ahead and, listen to it. So here we go. Let's start with that. That's how you make a boom bap beat. So I'm just gonna call this boom bap. And there you go. You got your boom bap beat. That's how you make boom bap beats from vinyl. Subscribe for more videos. Like, I know you like the sample breakdowns. You know, those are just kind of hard to make. So, but I make them. I try to get as many done as I can. So, yeah. Thanks for watching.